Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today, I am going to offer a defense as to why I think Julianna Peña's upset over Amanda Nunes at UFC 269 was probably the greatest in UFC history, right? Before we get into this, guys, if you enjoy the content, I would just ask that you like, subscribe, all that good shit. Let's knock that out of the way. Anyway, let's move on with this. So, before I set this up, I kind of want to walk through what I think my original, before UFC 269 took place, what my 5 greatest upsets were, right? Number 5 for me, and this is my personal list, right? I know that there's a lot of debate around this, but I kind of want to run through it so that when I give a defense for why I think Peña upsetting Nunes was the greatest on the list, you guys have like kind of an idea about where I'm sitting with these other ones, right? Number 5 for me personally was Chris Weidman upsetting Anderson Silva. It wasn't that, like, obviously it was a huge upset, and the reason I don't rank it higher on my list is just because I felt like we'd start to see Anderson Silva get some areas of his game exposed in his fight against like Chael Sonnen. Like, we knew that if you try to stay on the feet with Anderson Silva, you were going to be in a world of hurt, right? But I felt like Sonnen had exposed this flaw in his game, sort of, right? So when Weidman went in to fight Anderson Silva, it's not that I expected him to win, but I expected him to have a very good chance because I felt like his striking was a little bit more elaborate than Chael's, and his wrestling was maybe just as good. Maybe not as good, pretty good though, right? So I felt like maybe Weidman was a more complete version of Chael Sonnen that would be able to come in and maybe pose problems for Silva. I didn't expect him to knock him out the way he did. Again though, left hook that catches the guy, and in a lot of these upset scenarios, there's going to be it's kind of the case, right? They catch him with the shot that kind of rocks him and they fucking capitalize on it, knock him out, get the upset. So I guess for me personally, I just expected Weidman to have an okay chance, and that's why now I just kind of rate this one a little bit lower. Number 4 for me is Michael Bisping versus Luke Rockhold for the 185-pound title. This one was so high, like, I rate this one higher than Silva and Weidman because, again, I thought that Michael Bisping, this is going to sound crazy maybe, I thought Bisping had less of a chance against Rockhold than Weidman did against Silva. I really felt like everywhere that Rockhold was going to take the fight against Bisping, he was going to have an advantage, whether it be on the ground or on the feet, right? And Bisping came out with that left hook and again caught him, rocked him, and just put him out, right? So you get these, I don't want to call them these like moments or these, they're not lucky because these people have been training for this fight and they've practiced this stuff and they find an opening and they capitalize on the opportunity in the middle of this massive event with all this pressure on them and all these people watching. That's hard to fucking do. So I don't want to discredit like landing one shot that changes the course of the fight because it happens all the time and we celebrate it, right? And in upsets, you tend to be like, I caught him. But I don't think that's the case. It's just like right time, right place. The fact that fucking it's in this big moment is what makes it so special to me, right? So you can't get on him too much about it, but it is more impressive to me overall when somebody dominates the course of a fight, right? Over the course of a fight, which is why at number 3, I'm putting TJ Dillashaw over Renan Barão. People forget how fucking good Renan Barão was, man. He was on like not a 9 fight, like a 9-year winning streak. He was tearing through the bantamweight division. But he was like seemingly unstoppable, right? But TJ Dillashaw went in and didn't just, it's not like he caught him with something. He outclassed him, man, and he fucked him up over the course of the fight, right? TJ Dillashaw went in and put a beating on Renan Barão, and that's why that one to me, that one's always so impressive. Now, you find out about the EPO shit and you start wondering about every one of his fights, right? But still, taking it for what it is and just assuming that he wasn't on EPO at the time or whatever, to me, that was a massive upset. I didn't expect TJ Dillashaw to dominate the way he did, right? Now, when we get into 2 and 1, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit because I was talking about how I tend to favor strong performances, right? But at number 2, I'm sticking Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey, right? This one is tough. And again, if you're basing it on performance and exposing flaws in your opponent's game, this one should go above Matt Serra and GSP, which if you guys haven't deduced by now is going to be my number 1. But I'll get to that in a second. So Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey, the reason that I'm going to rank Peña versus Nunes higher than this one is because with Rousey, we thought we knew. She was dominating everyone. Judo, fucking everybody up, tossing them, submitting them, ground and pound, TKO, just fucking girls up, right? But we didn't know about the obvious hole in her striking game. And Holly Holm exposed that for everybody, right? So it was a phenomenal upset. Incredible to watch. Nobody saw it coming. But in that fight, we got to see that Ronda Rousey had a very, very, she was at a huge disadvantage on the feet. And Holly Holm exposed that and implemented her game plan, outclassed her, knocked her the fuck out, and won the world title, right? So that one to me was uber impressive and uber special because of all of the fucking, I don't know, the magic or everything, whatever you want to call it, around Ronda Rousey at the time. Holly Holm dissolved all that shit, right? But it was because we didn't know about the holes in Ronda's game, right? Okay, so number 2 for me. Let's recap real quick. Number 5, Silva versus Weidman. Number 4, Bisping versus Rockhold. 3, Dillashaw versus Barao. 2, Holly Holm versus Ronda Rousey. And number 1 has got to be, before Julianna Peña did what she did, for me, it's got to be Matt Serra versus GSP. And again, I know that we're going back to, I'm hypocritical a little bit in this sense, because I was talking about how I favor strong performances over, not that Matt Serra's was a one-punch knockout, but he clipped him with the right hook on kind of the top of the head, swarmed him, and got the finish, right? So this one shot that he throws kind of changes the course of the fight, which is that's what fighting is, right? And it was an impressive, but it was GSP, and we were just talking, the reason I rank this one over Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm is because with GSP, you knew that he was a complete fighter. You knew he was great on the ground. You knew that he was a great boxer, he was everything, man. He was the total package. So for Matt Serra to go in there and accomplish that was a massive deal. For me, that one has always sat at the top until Saturday night. And the reason I'm ranking Julianna Peña versus Amanda Nunes as the greatest upset ever is because we know how fucking good Amanda Nunes is. We know that she's capable of beating Valentina Shevchenko, right? Regardless, she's beat her twice. And I know she's bigger than Valentina, and Valentina now fights at 125. But that's probably the closest competition Amanda Nunes has ever gotten, right? Except for Kat Zingano when she obviously beat her. But otherwise, Amanda Nunes knocks people dead. She had knocked out Ronda Rousey. She had knocked out Holly Holm. She had choked out Megan Anderson. She's a world-class striker with legitimate knockout power, and she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, right? And she uses all that very well in the cage. So with Amanda Nunes, kind of similar to GSP, right? You know that Amanda Nunes is the fucking best. You knew she was the best woman that had ever fought, ever, period, so far, that we had seen, right? So, right there, that's why I rank it above Holly and Ronda. Because with Ronda, it was shocking, but we didn't know about the glaring weakness in her game. Up until this point, people had tested Amanda in different areas, but there seems to be no weaknesses, right? She can stand on. She knocked out Cyborg, right? She didn't seem to have any weaknesses whatsoever, and that's why people, I think, were like, man, this Julianna Peña girl doesn't have a chance, right? And here we go again, right? Number 1 for me, like I said, was GSP versus Matt Serra. But again, the reason I'm ranking this one above it is because Matt Serra caught GSP with that punch in the first round. And again, when I say caught, I don't mean it disrespectfully. The training, everything that goes into the gym, and the opportunity, landing on that moment, throwing the strike, I appreciate all of that stuff. I really do. But in this fight with Julianna Peña and Amanda Nunes, Julianna Peña had to battle adversity through the first round against the greatest female fighter of all time. Got her back taken, stayed defensively sound, got back, and you could tell when she walked back to her corner, she had newfound confidence. And then she came out in the second round, and she didn't fucking catch her with anything. She stuck the jab in her face and stuck it in her face over and over and over again, right? And you could tell that Amanda at first was kind of like, I'm just going to start swinging back. Eventually I'm going to find this punch that connects, and then it didn't happen. And you saw the look on her face change, and Peña was just there with the jab. Every time Amanda came forward, popped the jab in her face, following up with combos with the hands. And she broke Amanda Nunes. She broke the greatest fighter of all time. I don't care what anybody says. You can say Amanda didn't give up. Yes, she did. That choke was not it. She tapped before that choke was ever underneath the chin. I almost guarantee it. There is no way that you can say that Julianna Peña did not break Amanda Nunes. You don't finish world championship fighters with a choke that loose without your hooks in. I know people say, oh, you can finish it without the hooks in. When she starts locking up that choke and there are no hooks in, Amanda Nunes should be fighting to escape and scramble because there's nothing securing your body there. So, right, people say that. It's like, yeah, it's possible. But once you've broken your opponent down, she shouldn't really be finishing chokes with no hooks in. Amanda should be able to fight that, get out, and fight for some sort of angle, right? So, for me, The reason I put it above GSP and St. Pierre is because, like, okay, again, we knew how complete St. Pierre was, and Sarah caught him regardless, right? And in the fight before that at number 2, we didn't quite know how complete Ronda Rousey was, but Holly Holm exposed that, right? Two great upsets. But in this number 1 spot, you kind of have both conditions fulfilled, right? Where even though Amanda Nunes was the greater fighter, it didn't take this one shot from Julianna Peña to change the course of the fight. It was her willingness to stand and trade with her and stick the jab in her face repeatedly and believe in herself, stand in front of her and break the greatest female fighter that we've ever seen. Undoubtedly, in my opinion, the greatest upset in UFC history. You guys might disagree with me. I don't know, but for me, that's how I feel. I feel like, 1 and 2 are great upsets. But again, GSP came back to avenge his loss over Matt Serra, which kind of also further cements the fact that he caught him with that shot, and that's what changed it, right? You kind of feel like, I don't know, man. The way Julianna Peña fought, it makes you wonder if these girls fought 10 times, how many times would she beat her? I think Amanda Nunes wins some of those fights still, but it was the way that Julianna Peña did it, the way she battled adversity in the first round, then came back in the second and stood right in front of Amanda Nunes and broke her. To me, man, I'm sorry. I love all the other upsets. I love Sarah versus GSP. But again, caught him with the shot against a more complete fight. GSP was one of the most complete fighters of all time, even looking back now, which is why I previously had it at 1. Number 2, Holm versus Rousey. Rousey was just lighting the world on fire, and Holly Holm put a stop to that, but exposed this glaring weakness, right? Again, Amanda Nunes, hot as, like, on fire. People thinking she can't lose, and Julianna Peña does it this way. To me, I know I'm rambling, I'm repeating myself, I'm going to wrap this up, but Julianna Peña defeating Amanda Nunes the way that she did is the greatest upset in UFC history, in my opinion, and probably in MMA history. Uber impressive, and like I said, I hope I laid out good reasons as to why I'm thinking that way, right? Comparing it to the other ones and why I'm ranking this one so high above it, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree on this one and have their own takes on what they think the greatest upsets are, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that fucking good shit. And otherwise, have a great day. And thank you guys for tuning in as always. Bye-bye.